looks, it has to be said, a little bit different.
Absolutely. It's this is the edition. It's actually probably not the right one to start off, although maybe it is, because it's the whole photographic inspiration, the theme and everything comes from this, because it's inspired by, or it's a tribute to one of London's hero photographers, is Brian Griffin. Brian Griffin is a gentleman who has been again pushing the boundaries of photography for the last 30 odd years. I can remember when I was looking actually through some of the images that he had been responsible for. I can remember this being an album that I had bought back in the mid-1980s, A Broken Frame by Depeche Mode. Going to see them in a couple of months. Looking forward to that.
Amazing.
Yeah. And also some of our heroes. Pietro is Iggy Pop. There was Susie Sue of Susie and the Banshees. And also into film history with the Return of the Jedi, with Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, of course, as well as some, urban scenes and things, the images that are world famous. And so there's a great source of inspiration there, a lot to work with, and to be able to bounce off this reputation. This is where the Lensman has come from, the Lensman 2, and that's what we're there. Go ahead.
Yep, that's it there. So you're right. Although if I maybe step back one step beyond that, was for sure, we'll get to talk about Brian, but this one also came around from the kind of the desire to try and incorporate something that, to our knowledge, hasn't been done before. Now, obviously, there's lots of watches out there in terms of bezel functionality. Things like your classic Navi timers from Zinn or from Breitling, for example, where you can calculate, direction or fuel loads or speeds, etc. Still a watch that's commonly available, and quite a lot of people are very well aware of that watch. Not exactly the most functional bezel for most people these days. Slide rules went out with the ARC, shall we say? You've got different bezels on chronographs. You've got your, you mentioned tachymeters. You've got your pulsometers. And really, we wanted to try and incorporate a bezel function that could be useful for photographers. And obviously, in this day and age of digital photography, and even pre-digital, when we had film cameras, but they still had automatic moves and they had electronics built into them, things like mechanical light meters went by the wayside because the camera did it for you. But there's still people who like to shoot in good old-fashioned full mechanical and want to use these. And this is basically a kind of nod to the use of mechanical light meters to work out exposure, etc. So as you can see on this picture, actually, you've got up. If you look in the kind of rehot ring there, you've got the different icons along there. You've got bright sun, you've got cloudy, you've got sunset, you've got incandescent light, you've got indoor light, you've got nighttime, and then you've got your ISOs on the actual bezel. It's a bidirectional bezel; it can turn both ways. And you can set your ISO level to the given light conditions. And then you can see around the bottom there on this image, you can see your shutter speeds and your f-stops. And as you adjust it to set your ISO, for example, to a given light condition, it will give you the area of shutter speed and or f-stops that you want to use. So for talking sake on this one that you've got up, it's showing an ISO of 100 set to, for example, the bright sunshine. Then say you were wanting to shoot some fast action sport, for example, so you'd want to use probably quite a high shutter speed, maybe around about 1,000. So if you look on the bezel there, you can see it at 1,000. For your shutter speed, you'd want to be at 5.6 f-stop. So it is a very functional tool. Will most people use this? No, because most people will use their phone for taking photos. But it's a nice nod to the heritage and history of photography with a bezel functionality that does something a little bit different and interesting. And the whole kind of
sorry, but you've turned the inspiration that was initially only on the aesthetics, like in the Lensman 1, to actually a function that is an easy thing to say, but by the look of it, it must have taken ages to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's a talented bunch of guys that really, I guess they do a lot of this work as well in their own time. These are guys that kind of they wake up at 6 a.m. or 4 a.m. with some bright idea and like, I reckon I could make this work. The guys will come in with something they've printed out in their 3D printer at home because they had a brainwave in the middle of the night about how to do something, and they come in with some gargantuan 3D printed model of a proof of concept. So these guys are constantly thinking that way. They also took quite a lot of aesthetic inspiration on this watch from the days when that type of functionality was more commonly used. So back in the 50s and the 60s, and it's got this kind of nod to the likes of the medium format Hasselblad cameras, which in their day were extremely famous. It was the cameras that went to the moon landings. It was the cameras of its moment, especially in that 50s, 60s, 70s period. So it kind of has that design language nodding back. And the case construction, you'll have seen that. If you bring one of the pictures up again, people will notice on the case, you've got the polished part and you've got this kind of black area on the case. And on that, what we have is the main actual case of the watch, which is the black part. And if you have maybe an image on the side, you can see it, or I've got one here that I can hold up to camera. Yeah, you can see it there with the black sides. That part is actually an aluminium part. So the case itself is aluminium. And again, Andy, myself, coming from the watch, or from the bike industry, the cycling industry, aluminium needs to be treated to give it some kind of protection, but also you want to make sure that it's got real good durability. And one of Andy's big things was, he said he never wanted to do a black coated watch, or as we probably know it, a PVD or a CVD watch. But this one uses hard anodizing. So it's a black hard anodization on the aluminium. And compared to something like a CVD or a PVD coat on steel, it's a much more durable, much harder, much deeper penetrating treatment on the aluminium. So it's super durable. And then the polished exoskeleton that's around this watch is grade 5 titanium. So that is a machined part that's separate from the black aluminium case, all made out of grade 5, machined out of grade 5 titanium. And then the black aluminium part is fitted into that. And then between the lugs, there is 2 on each side, one at each lug effectively, so 4 in total, little Torx retainer screws that screw in to retain that, so it becomes effectively, it's an exoskeleton case, so it's a titanium exoskeleton over an aluminium frame, which makes it super durable and tough because all the contact points are titanium and they're tough, but super light because the main bulk of that case is aluminium, or aluminum for our American friends.